They threw her away like trash until a human saw her worth. The lower levels of Auralis Crown were built for machines, not people. Every wall dripped with chemical mist. The air tasted like metal and salt. Pipes rattled under the glass floor, carrying waste down to the sea far below. A broken vent hissed softly, releasing a stream of warm vapor that cut through the cold air. That's where Lisa sat, knees to her chest, eyes half open, pretending the heat meant safety. Her skin shimmered faintly under the blue lights. Deep teal, smooth like glass, marked with thin silver freckles that pulsed whenever the mist touched her. She used to think it looked beautiful. Now it made her a target. 3 shifts ago, her job had vanished. Non-citizens first, the message said. No apology. No pay. Just silence. Since then, she had been living beside this vent, hiding whenever security patrols passed. Sleeping was illegal on the glass walks. But she had nowhere else to go. A group of young workers turned into the alley, laughing too loud. Their uniforms half unzipped, still smelling of engine oil and synthetic food. They spotted her immediately. Hey, look at that, sector trash still alive. Another voice followed. Careful, she might bite. Lisa didn't move. She had learned long ago that stillness worked better than words. If she stayed quiet, they'd grow bored. Usually. One boy threw a paper cup. It hit her shoulder, rolled away. The others laughed louder, encouraged by her silence. Someone took out a recording slab. The red light blinked on. Smile, vermin, the leader said. The net loves gutter creatures. Her throat burned. Not from tears, those had dried long ago, but from the disinfectant in the air. She looked down at her hands, trying not to shake. The smell of chemical mist filled her lungs until she almost gagged. Up on the maintenance platform above, Jonah Rook stopped his inspection. The sound of laughter didn't belong in a sector like this. He looked down. One woman sitting by a vent. A crowd mocking her like she wasn't even alive. He hesitated. He wasn't a guard. He wasn't supposed to interfere. His badge said Civic Safety Auditor. But before that, he had been in the Flood Rescue Corps, a man who had pulled strangers out of drowning corridors. The habit of saving things that didn't belong to him was hard to kill. He set his inspection pad aside and climbed down the ladder. The group saw him halfway. His jacket was matte black with a small silver insignia, enough to make them pause. Purge in 3 minutes, he said flatly, his voice calm but sharp. You want to keep your skin move. The words worked like a command. A few backed off instantly. One boy tried to act tough. Who are you, mister? Safety control, Jonah said. Move. He stepped between them and the woman on the ground. His boots splashed in the shallow puddles. The group scattered, muttering under their breath, their courage leaking out as quickly as the mist. Jonah crouched. Stand up if you can. Lisa looked up slowly. Her eyes were pale green, glassy but alive. They're not done, she whispered. They are now. He took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. She stiffened at the touch. He waited. After a moment, she let him help her up. Her fingers were cold and slick. Can you walk? He asked. Yes, she said softly. I just don't have anywhere to go. You do for now. Behind them, the purge alarm blared. Valves opened with a roar. The alley filled with white vapor, thick, burning, acidic. Jonah guided her out, keeping his body between her and the mist. When they reached the upper stairs, she finally spoke again. Why did you stop? He didn't look at her. Because no one else did. The stairwell led to a narrow corridor lined with dull light. He opened the door to his quarters with a wrist code. Everything inside was clean, silent, almost too organized, labeled drawers, folded sheets, and the faint hum of an air purifier. Bathrooms there, he said. Hot water limits, 15 liters. Use soap that doesn't burn. Lisa stopped in the doorway. You're just leaving me here? He met her eyes. You don't look like a thief. And you need warmth more than I need control. That made her give a small, weak laugh. Fair point. She disappeared behind the frosted door. Water started running. Jonah sat at the counter, eyes on the inspection slate, pretending to read numbers. But his mind stayed with the girl in the shower, her stillness, her silence, the word vermin echoing off metal walls. When she came out, wrapped in a clean cloth, her skin glowed faintly under the lights. She looked different, human in a way the city refused to see. The smell's gone, she said quietly. Feels like the city doesn't recognize me now. Jonah poured her a cup of coffee. Let's keep it that way. Why help me? She asked. You could have walked away. He leaned on the counter. Because no one else did. Outside, the mist hissed through the vents again, washing the streets clean. Inside, two strangers shared silence. One rediscovering warmth, the other remembering what it felt like to save something that still had a heartbeat. And for the first time in a long time, Jonah Rook didn't feel like just another worker in the machine. He felt human. The next morning, the city above the mist looked like a machine pretending to be a sunrise. Cold light spilled through the glass walls of Jonah's flat, cutting across metal counters and quiet air. Everything was clean, too clean. Every towel folded the same way. Every tool labeled. A place built for order, not for guests. Lisa sat on the edge of the cot, the borrowed jacket still draped around her. The warmth from the vent below made her skin glow faintly, soft teal ripples flowing along her arms. It looked almost alive. She hadn't felt alive in a long time. Jonah stood by the small counter, pouring hot water into two metal cups. Steam rose between them like a veil. "Coffee," he said, sliding one cup toward her. She held it with both hands, unsure if she was allowed to drink. "It's real?" she asked. "As real as it gets up here," he replied. "Seed brew. Keeps me awake." The bitter taste hit her tongue, sharp but comforting. For a moment, she almost smiled. Then she saw her reflection in the metal, hair messy, eyes hollow. The same woman who was called Vermin only hours ago. "Why'd you help me?" she asked again. "You were cold," he said simply. "And they were cruel." "That's it." He looked at her, calm as always. "That's enough." Silence stretched between them, heavy but not harsh. Outside, the city hummed, distant turbines, moving drones, the endless pulse of order. Inside, two strangers tried to pretend this was normal. Lisa finally said, "You could report me, you know? Unregistered hybrid, no ID." "I could," Jonah said, taking a sip. "But I won't." "Why not?" "Because systems don't fix themselves. People do." Her brow furrowed. "That sounds like something a rescuer would say." "I used to be one," he said quietly. "Civic Flood Corps." "What happened?" "Too many bodies. Not enough time." He looked away, voice even but distant. "Now I fix metal. It doesn't die." She studied him for a while. He looked like someone built from routine and rules, everything measured, predictable. But his eyes betrayed something different. They were tired in a way no machine could be. Lisa stood and walked to the window. The ocean shimmered far below, trapped under layers of glass and light. "Do you ever think about what's down there?" she asked. "Every day," he said. "Then why stay up here?" "Because I can still fix what breaks." She turned back to him. "And me? Can you fix me too?" He met her gaze, steady but kind. "You're not broken. Just cold." She didn't answer. He moved to the storage wall, pulled out a folded gray shirt and trousers. Clean, oversized, simple. "Here," he said. "You can keep them. Wash when you want. I'll handle the rest." She hesitated. "You trust me that much?" He smirked faintly. "If you steal, at least leave the vent readings on." That almost made her laugh. Almost. When she came out of the small washroom again, her hair was damp but combed. She looked younger, steadier. Jonah was sitting at the counter, going through holographic readings on his inspection slate. He didn't look up when he spoke. "There's a vent I need to check in Sector 12. The one near your alley." She froze. "You're going back?" "I have to. Reports don't close themselves." "You're not serious. What if they're still there?" He finally looked at her. "Then they'll see you standing." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she took a deep breath and nodded. "Fine. But I'm not hiding behind you. You won't need to." The walk back through the service corridors felt different. Lisa's pulse beat fast, but her steps stayed even. The same alley waited. Empty now, just puddles and steam. The air smelled like burned metal and disinfectant. Jonah crouched by the vent and opened his kit. Bolts clanked softly. Steam rose, white and harmless. He worked fast, precise, every motion practiced. Lisa watched him, her reflection glowing faintly in the chrome wall. "They laughed at me because it was easy," she said suddenly. "No," Jonah replied. "They laughed because no one stopped them." He tightened a valve. Now someone did. The vent clicked, sealed, and hissed clean air. He stood. "Done." She looked around. The place didn't feel cursed anymore. Just quiet. "You fixed it," she said softly. "That's what I do," he replied. Her lips curved into a small, uncertain smile. "You sound like a man who fights floods with a spoon." He shrugged. "Then it's a good spoon." The laugh that escaped her was short, real, and human. The first in a long time. As they left the alley, mist swept in behind them, cleansing everything in white vapor. This time, Lisa didn't flinch. She didn't hide her face. And Jonah, walking beside her, knew she would never return to that drain again. For the first time since he left the rescue corps, he felt the same quiet certainty he used to feel after saving a life. But this time, the life he saved wasn't drowning. It was learning to stand. The city above the sea never truly slept. It just dimmed. At night, Auralis Crown glowed like a giant pulse, white veins of light running through the mist. Jonah walked along the transparent skywalk with his toolkit slung across his shoulder. Beside him, Lisa moved quietly, her steps unsure but steady. She wore the gray shirt tied at the waist, sleeves rolled up, storm veil covering her hair. The teal shimmer of her skin flickered faintly beneath the fabric, like light through deep water. For the first time, she didn't walk behind him. She walked beside him. The service corridor led to an old inspection hub on the lower rim. Panels buzzed with static. Air vents leaked soft hisses of vapor that smelled like rust and salt. Jonah scanned the pressure readings on his slate. 2 valves are unstable, he muttered. I'll fix them before they burst. Lisa knelt beside him. Show me how. He raised an eyebrow. You want to help? I want to understand what you actually fix, she said. Her tone wasn't defensive. It was tired curiosity, like she was asking him to prove that something still worked in this world. Jonah handed her a wrench. Hold this steady. Don't twist until I say. She gripped it tightly. Like this. Good. Now turn slow. Steam burst out in a small hiss. She flinched, but didn't let go. Perfect, he said. You just stopped a leak that could have flooded half the corridor. Lisa blinked. Feels smaller than saving a life. He gave a faint smile. They're not that different. For a few minutes, they worked in silence. The rhythmic sound of tools echoed softly, mixed with the hum of air vents. It felt almost peaceful. Then, as Jonah reached for a panel, his sleeve slid up, revealing pale scars along his forearm. Thin, clean lines that cut deep. Lisa noticed. You got those from rescue work, didn't you? He paused. Collapsed tunnel. Water pressure tore the frame apart. Saved 3 people. Lost the 4th. Do you remember their name? She asked. Every night, he said. Memories heavier than metal. She didn't know what to say. The city taught people to forget, not to remember. But Jonah remembered everything. Every drowned voice, every mistake. It was carved into him like those scars. You stopped saving people after that? She asked softly. I started fixing systems, he replied. They don't die when you're too late. Lisa leaned against the wall, watching him reconnect the last pipe. You keep everything so neat, she said. You think order keeps you safe? It keeps me useful. And what keeps you alive? He looked up at her. You're asking the wrong man. Before she could answer, a sanitation drone floated around the corner, a silver orb with blue scanning lights. Its lens blinked yellow the moment it saw her. Unregistered genome detected. It chirped. Lisa froze. Jonah's hand went instantly to his wrist beacon. A coded pulse flashed from his device. The drone paused, lights flickering, then drifted away as if nothing happened. You just cleared me, she whispered. For now, he said. But the scan goes into the system archive. I'll have to rewrite it tonight. That's falsifying records. He met her gaze calmly. That's keeping you alive. Lisa stared at him, torn between gratitude and fear. You'll lose your job if they trace it. He shrugged. Jobs are replaceable. People aren't. They walked back through the lower walkways, their reflections moving in the glass beneath their feet. Every few meters, a light flickered out, leaving small pockets of shadow. Lisa spoke after a long silence. You think you can hide me forever? No, Jonah said. Just long enough for you to decide who you want to be next. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. Not pity, not ownership. Something quieter, belief. When they reached the lift, the panels glowed with pale blue light. As it rose through the transparent shaft, the city layers passed beneath them like stacked worlds. Market rings, housing decks, mist vents, sea glow. Lisa pressed her hand against the glass. I used to think this city looked beautiful from below, she said. Most things do, Jonah replied. Distance hides the damage. Do you believe things can change? She asked. He thought for a long moment. No system changes itself. Someone has to break something first. She smiled faintly. Then maybe we start small. The lift doors opened onto the higher platform. The air smelled cleaner, sharper, almost like rain. Jonah walked ahead, but Lisa lingered by the glass wall, staring down at the mist glowing far below. Her reflection floated beside his, human and hybrid, rescuer and refugee, two strangers standing at the edge of a world that didn't want them. But for the first time, she didn't feel like something to be thrown away. As they walked back to his flat, she whispered, "You know, Jonah, maybe you didn't stop saving people after all." He didn't answer, but the corner of his mouth curved just slightly. Outside, Auralis Crown's lights flickered against the endless night. Inside, the quiet between them felt heavy, but alive, the kind of silence that comes right before something new begins. By the next cycle, the mist vents had cleared, and the city above shimmered like a new shell. Light crawled down every glass wall, washing away the night's fog. Jonah stood near the door, fastening his jacket, his inspection badge glowing faintly on the collar. Lisa watched him from the cot, her storm veil wrapped loosely in her hands. "You're going out again?" she asked. "Inspection run," he said. "Sector 10 through 12. You're coming with me." Her head lifted sharply. "You want me to walk into the open?" "After everything. People forget what they see," Jonah said. "Let them remember something else this time." He handed her a folded piece of fabric, a pale sand-colored half-skirt, light enough to move easily. "It'll blend," he added. "And it's yours." She hesitated, fingers brushing the cloth. "You didn't have to." "I know," he said. "That's why I did." They left together through the narrow stairwell. The hum of turbines followed them upward. The glass walk opened into the Pearl Halo Bazaar, a suspended market built along the rim of the city's dome. It was noisy, alive, full of color. Steam from cooking stalls mingled with the scent of salt fruit and machine oil. Lisa's heart raced. She hadn't stood among so many people in months. Eyes followed her instantly. The shimmer of her skin caught the light, and whispers moved like static through the crowd. "Hybrid," someone muttered. "Sector trash." She lowered her head, instinctively shrinking. Jonah stopped walking. "Don't do that," he said quietly. "Don't let them win. They're staring. Then make them look properly." He reached for her hand and pulled the veil away from her face. The light hit her skin, and for a second, the crowd stilled. Her freckles glowed faintly, tiny points of silver fire beneath teal skin. Jonah's voice stayed low but firm. "Don't hide what they can't destroy." They kept walking. The noise returned, but softer now, confused, uncertain. They passed a vendor selling clothes dyed in sea pigment. The merchant smiled carefully. "Beautiful fabric for beautiful color," she said, eyes flicking between them. Jonah paid for a thin green veil, without haggling. "Wrap this," he told the woman, "and add a storm clasp." Lisa looked at him as they walked away. "You just spent a week's credit." He shrugged. "Quiet mornings are worth more." They stopped at a stall serving roasted shellfish and steamed fruit. The vendor glanced at Lisa, hesitated, then served them anyway. She ate slowly, each bite reminding her she was still alive, still part of something that existed under sunlight. "Feels strange," she said softly. "What does?" "Being visible." Jonah looked at her. "That's the point. You've been invisible too long." She smiled faintly, wiping her fingers. "You really believe people can change what they see?" "No," he said. "But you can change what they think they saw." A sudden laugh echoed from behind them. A group of young workers, the same ones from the alley, stood near the walkway, their expressions twisting into mockery. "Well, look who got herself a rescuer," one said. Lisa froze. Jonah turned slowly, eyes calm but cold. He stepped forward. "You dropped something last time," he said, pulling a clear disposal bag from his jacket. "Pick it up." They stared, confused. "What?" "Every wrapper. Every cup. Every scrap on this floor," Jonah said evenly. "You threw it here. Clean it." One boy scoffed. "You think you can tell us what to?" Jonah took another step, voice dropping into steel. "You will. Because this walkway has cameras. Because you're cowards when people are watching. And because I'm not asking twice." His tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. After a tense pause, one boy bent down. Then another. Soon, the group was gathering trash in silence, their laughter gone. The crowd around them began to notice. Some smiled. Some didn't. But everyone watched. When they finished, Jonah tied the bag and hung it on the public waste hook. "That's what responsibility looks like," he said quietly. "Try it sometime." The workers left without another word. Lisa stood frozen, her pulse racing. "You didn't yell," she whispered. "You just made them do it." "Noise doesn't make people listen," he said. "Control does." She turned to him, eyes shining. "No one ever defended me without making it worse." Jonah looked at her, calm as ever. "Maybe you never met someone who didn't need to prove he could." The market noise returned around them, but it felt distant, almost harmless. For the first time, Lisa walked with her head high, veil loose, shoulders back. Jonah matched her pace, silent but steady. When they reached the far end of the bazaar, the sea was visible below, glowing turquoise through the transparent floor. She stopped and leaned on the railing. "It's beautiful," she said. "It always was," he replied. "You just couldn't see it from the gutter." The words hit deep, but they weren't cruel. They were a promise. She looked at him, and for a moment, her reflection in the glass beside his looked whole. Two figures that didn't belong here, but somehow fit anyway. As they walked back toward the lift, she said quietly, "You keep helping me." He didn't look at her. "I don't help. I fix. And what if I'm not broken?" He smiled faintly. "Then maybe I'm just lucky." The lift doors closed around them. Below, the market continued, loud, restless, alive. But for the first time, the noise didn't sound like judgment. It sounded like the world finally noticing she existed. Morning came quiet, like the city was holding its breath. Thin light leaked through the high windows of Jonah's flat, cutting silver lines across the floor. Lisa sat near the balcony, still half wrapped in the pale skirt he'd bought her. She watched drones drift by outside, silent dots tracing perfect routes through the air. Everything here had a pattern. Everything followed rules. Except them. Jonah stood by the counter, eyes fixed on his inspection slate. The screen glowed faint blue against his face. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, quietly, he said, "They found the anomaly." Lisa looked up. "What anomaly?" "The genome trace," he replied. "The one the sanitation drone picked up in the alley. It didn't match any registry." Her heart stopped for a second. "That's me." He nodded. "The safety board's asking for clarification. They'll cross-check my file." Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. "What happens if they realize what you did?" He met her eyes, calm but serious. "Then I'm suspended. Maybe worse. But I won't let them track you down." She stood, crossing the room in 2 steps. "Jonah, you can't risk that. They'll blacklist you. You'll lose everything." "I've lost worse," he said simply. "And I'm not letting the city erase someone again." For the first time, she saw the quiet steel in him, the kind that didn't shout or fight, but bent the rules until they broke. He turned back to the screen. "There's one way to close the file. We register a dependent bond. It's temporary, but it'll give you clearance to move freely." Lisa frowned. "You mean like ownership?" "A caretaker license." "Not ownership," Jonah said quickly. "Protection. The system will see you as part of my inspection team." Her hands clenched. "And to everyone else?" He didn't answer right away. "To everyone else, you'll be under my supervision." She looked down, voice shaking slightly. "You're asking to be marked with me. That doesn't just go away." "I know," he said. "And I'm still asking." For a long moment, she stood there, torn between fear and something softer. Then she whispered, "If I say yes, what happens next?" "We go to the registry tower," Jonah said. "You tell them your name." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "All right, let's do it." The registry tower rose like a blade through the center of Auralis Crown. Its walls were mirrors that reflected the sea below, endless and cold. Inside, the light was white and unforgiving. Lines of citizens waited before metal consoles. Machines hummed behind thick glass, reading faces and scanning badges. Jonah's ID flickered on the scanner. Civic Safety Auditor, Field Code 19C. "Purpose of registration?" asked the machine's neutral voice. "Temporary dependent authorization," Jonah said. Name of dependent? Lisa swallowed hard. For years she had no name that anyone used. Just hybrid, half-blood, vermin. Now, for the first time, someone was asking for one. She stepped forward. "Lisa," she said quietly. "Just Lisa." The console glowed, processing the entry. A soft chime followed. Record created. Temporary care bond. Duration, indefinite. The word bond lingered on the screen like a heartbeat. Jonah's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. Lisa stood beside him, watching the reflection of their faces merge on the glass. Hers shimmering, his steady. When they stepped outside, The city looked brighter somehow. The air smelled of salt and ozone. Does it feel strange? She asked. What? Having my name under yours. He gave a half smile. Feels right. They walked through the plaza, overlooking the sea. Drones drifted like silver birds above the water. Lisa stopped by the railing. I used to think if I ever got free, she said, I'd vanish. Go somewhere no one could find me. And now? Jonah asked. She turned toward him. Now I think I want to be seen, just not as what they called me. Back in the flat, the silence felt different. Not empty, just new. Her storm veil hung beside his jacket now. Her coffee cup sat next to his on the counter. 2 lives, side by side, fitting into the same space without permission. Jonah placed the registry slip on the wall. It glowed faintly under the room's light, their names linked in silver text. Lisa traced her fingers over it. This makes it official, she said softly. I exist. He nodded. The system can't erase what's written twice. She looked at him, eyes catching the light. You've broken a dozen laws for me. He smirked. Only the bad ones. Lisa laughed quietly, the sound soft and fragile. Then she whispered, You know, Jonah, you don't talk like other humans. He looked up from his tools. Is that bad? It's honest, she said. And I forgot what that sounds like. Outside, the sea shimmered under the tower's shadow. Inside, 2 people stood before a glowing record that defied everything the city believed. For the first time since the alley, Lisa didn't feel like she was surviving. She felt like she was starting. The gardens at the center of Auralis Crown were not real, but they tried. Leaves were printed. Soil was synthetic. The wind was a program. Still, the space felt softer than the glass walks. Jonah led Lisa along a quiet path, where white pillars rose like ribs around a small plaza. At the far end stood a slim kiosk with a blue ring of light. A sign above it read, Payer vouch, voluntary. Lisa stopped. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her veil. This is it, she asked. This is the one they cannot undo, he said. You're sure? I don't come here by accident. She looked at the ring of light. It pulsed with gentle patience, as if it could wait forever. Tell me the rule, she said. We touch the glass. We breathe together. The system measures rhythm, heat, and intent. Intent, she asked, half smiling. It likes tidy words for messy things, he said. Silence settled. The false wind moved the printed leaves. Lisa felt small, then steady. If I do this, she whispered, I stop being a ghost. If you do this, he said, you stop doing it alone. Lisa lifted her chin. Then no more half measures. They stepped up to the kiosk. The glass was cold beneath their palms. The ring brightened, scanning the lines of their hands, the shape of their lungs. Begin, a gentle voice said. Lisa inhaled. Jonah matched her breath, slow, even, sure. For a moment, she remembered the alley. The heat of the purge. The word vermin. Then her chest opened. The panic faded. Her heartbeat found his and calmed. The ring flashed once. Pair vouch confirmed. Lisa plus Jonah Rook. And on expiring. No music. No audience. Just a blue light and a line of text that would follow them wherever the city pretended not to see. Lisa exhaled, shaky but smiling. So that's what permanent feels like, she said. Like a quiet yes, Jonah answered. They left the plaza without speaking. On the upper walk, vendors shouted prices to no one in particular. Drones scratched silver lines across the sky. The world was loud again, but nothing inside her rattled. They stopped at a stall that fried thin ribbons of sea root. The cook passed them a paper cone without meeting their eyes. Lisa tasted salt and oil and heat and laughed because it was all simple. Simple was rare here. You didn't ask me to promise anything, she said. I don't need a promise, Jonah replied. I need presence. And if I get scared, then I stand closer. They kept walking. At the west rail, the ocean shone a deep turquoise under the city's shadow. Lisa leaned forward, hair lifting in the program wind. I used to plan my escapes, she said. Every night, I changed the plan. It kept me breathing. And now, he asked. Now I plan mornings, she said. They feel harder to lose. A sanitation drone drifted along the far edge of the rail. It slowed when it reached them. Its blue eye ticked from Jonah to Lisa and back again. The scanner lit, then blinked green and moved on. She stared after it. Did that just let me pass? Jonah tapped his wrist. The pair vouch rewrites your access. You are not in error anymore. A sound left her throat that was not a sob and not a laugh. She covered her mouth. then dropped her hand and stood taller. I didn't think a line of text could feel like a door, she said. It's a door we hold open, he said. They headed home through the lower passages where the lights always flickered. Two boys in oily uniforms stepped aside to let them through. No one whispered. No one spat. Lisa did not look down. In the flat, the air purifier hummed like distant rain. Jonah pinned the new slip beside the old bond record. 2 lines, 2 choices, the same answer. Lisa sat at the counter, hands around a cup of hot water. I have something to tell you, she said. He faced her, steady. Tell me. I'm late, she said, and my skin changed. That only happens when. She trailed off, the words caught between fear and hope. Jonah did not reach for the slate. He reached for her hand. Are you frightened? He asked. Yes, she said softly. But not of leaving. Of staying. He nodded, the smallest smile touching his mouth. Then we build for staying, he said. We build for 3. Her eyes filled, then cleared. You make everything sound like a repair order, she whispered. It is, he said. We keep what works. We replace what fails. We tighten what rattles. We check again in the morning. A message pinged on his slate. He ignored it. She noticed. Work, board audit, he said, not touching the screen. They want a statement about the filter patch in Sector 12. The one you falsified. The one I made true, he said calmly. Either way, they will look. Lisa's fingers tightened around his. I don't want you to lose the life you had, she said. He shook his head. That life was a long hallway with no doors. Today we made one. He finally opened the slate. Lines of text crawled like ants. Notice, field anomaly review. Source mismatch detected. Report within 1 cycle. He set the slate down. They are coming, he said. Not with sirens. With questions that bite. Lisa breathed in. Breathed out. The room felt small and strong at once. What do we do? She asked. Jonah looked at the 2 slips on the wall. We answer, he said. Together. And if they try to fold us back into the system. He paused, voice quiet but iron. We jam the gears. Outside, the mist towers began their evening purge. White vapor drifted across the lower decks like soft weather. Lisa moved to the window and touched the cold glass. I used to think the purge erased me, she said. Now it just cleans the floor. Behind her, Jonah gathered his tools and a small black case she had never seen. What's that? She asked. Proof, he said. The kind the board understands. She nodded. Then tomorrow, she said, we breathe again. Tomorrow, he agreed. They stood side by side, watching the city blur into a pale halo over the sea. 2 names on a wall. 2 lungs and 1 rhythm. The system would come with tidy questions. The answers would be messy and very human. Morning in Auralis Crown always began like a lie. The light looked warm, but it wasn't. The sea below shimmered silver, beautiful and distant, like freedom seen through glass. Jonah woke before the alarms, as he always did. Old rescue habits. He sat at the counter, silent, while the purifier hummed its low rhythm. Lisa stirred in the cot near the balcony. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she saw the 2 slips pinned to the wall, the bond record and the pair of vouch, each glowing faint blue in the half-light. Her chest eased. She hadn't dreamed it. They were still here. She crossed the room barefoot, hair tangled, eyes steady. You didn't sleep, she said. I was reading the audit notice again, Jonah replied. They're coming today, aren't they? He nodded once. Field board inspection. They want to verify my statement about the Sector 12 patch. And the part where you erased me? She asked quietly. They'll call it an anomaly, he said. I'll call it a repair. Lisa moved closer. If they question you, tell them the truth. He looked up. Which part? That I was human enough to fix. A small smile flickered across his face, gone as quickly as it came. You sound like someone ready to fight. I learned from an engineer, she said. The knock came at mid-cycle. 2 officers in pale uniforms, their badges gleaming like ice. Safety Division, the taller one said. We're here to verify your report, Auditor Rook. Jonah stepped aside. Come in. They scanned the room automatically, walls, purifier, air quality. One of them paused at the pinned slips. You filed a dependent and a pair vouch within 48 hours, the officer said. Fast work. Some systems move quicker when you push them, Jonah answered. The second officer tapped a wrist console. We detected genetic interference in your last maintenance log. Hybrid markers. Explain. Lisa's throat tightened. Jonah didn't blink. I was testing a biocompatible filter prototype, he said calmly. Sector 12's lower drains are exposed to multiple genomes. The patch needed calibration. Do you have proof of manufacture? He reached for the small black case on the counter, opened it, and placed a thin silver chip on the table. Prototype ID 442. R. Embedded trace pattern matches my field record. The officer scanned it. The reader blinked green. Your report will remain under review, one said. Then review it thoroughly, Jonah replied. They turned toward Lisa. And you, miss? Lisa, she said firmly. Just Lisa. Are you aware of your dependent status under his supervision? I chose it, she said. And I'm not dependent. I'm part of the fix. The taller officer hesitated, confused, maybe even moved, and finally nodded. Understood. When they left, the door hissed shut with a sigh that sounded almost like relief. Jonah sat down slowly. The strength left his shoulders all at once. You just lied to the board, Lisa said. He shook his head. I told them what the system could understand. She smiled faintly. And they believed it. For now. She knelt beside him. Then what happens when they don't? He met her eyes. Then we stop explaining. The purifier clicked softly. Outside, the mist towers began their next purge, white vapor rising in gentle spirals. Lisa watched it through the glass. When I was small, I thought the purge made the city clean. It doesn't, Jonas said. It just hides the dirt for a while. She turned to him, voice low. Then maybe it's our turn to stay dirty. That made him laugh, quiet, tired, genuine. Maybe it is. Later, they walked to the balcony. The sky was the color of melted metal. Below them, the sea moved in long silver waves, and the reflection of the city broke across it like a heartbeat. Lisa rested her hands on the railing. Do you think they'll come back? Probably, Jonas said. Systems hate loose ends. And us. We're not a loose end, he said. We're a beginning. She looked up at him, searching his face. And if they tear it down? He placed his hand over hers. Then we build again. That's what we do. The air smelled faintly of salt and ozone. The wind caught her hair and scattered it across her face. She didn't move it. She wanted the world to see her exactly as she was, alive, imperfect, unhidden. Inside the flat, the audit notice still blinked on Jonah's slate. He didn't open it. Instead, he reached over, took it off standby, and deleted it with a single motion. The screen went dark. The machine hummed quietly, accepting the choice without question. Lisa exhaled slowly. You just erased an order from the board. Jonah nodded. I've been fixing their errors for years. This one's mine to keep. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You really think this will last? He looked out at the endless light over the water. Maybe not forever, but long enough to matter. The purge mist rose higher, soft and white, wrapping the lower decks in fog. From above, the city looked peaceful, perfect even. But beneath that calm, two figures stood on a small balcony, rewriting what it meant to survive. They weren't ghosts anymore. They weren't mistakes to be corrected. They were proof that compassion could break protocol. Proof that being human wasn't about species or status. It was about choice. And as the next wave of artificial dawn rolled across Auralis Crown, their silhouettes stayed in its light, unafraid and unhidden. For the first time, the city didn't feel endless. It felt theirs.